That your soul should still remain with your body. Because if you don't eat, then your soul slowly separates from the body because it doesn't have what to connect it. It's the same thing every time we learn Torah, we are bringing the Ein Sof, which is Hashem, into this world. This is the body. And as we learn Torah, the more Torah we learn, the more we can bring the Ein Sof Hashem to connect to this world and not separate. That's the idea of bread. That's why Torah is called bread. So with this, we'll understand what it says before the Aseres HaDibros, before Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Hashem said a statement like this, Vayidaber Elokim es kol hadvarim ha'ela lemer. Hashem said all these words lemer. What does that mean? Pirush. Kol hadvarim ha'ela hanu klolus kol ha'torah kula shekula b'aseres HaDibros. The entire Torah
in the Ten Commandments
is in the Aseres HaDibros. Why? Kobay shekosov haRamban shebaseres HaDibros. In the 10 Dibros, there's Tarach Oisius, there's 620 letters. So basically, there's 613 mitzvahs plus the 7 rabbinic, so it's 620. So every letter in the Aseres HaDibros represents another mitzvah. So in the 10 Commandments, you have the whole Torah. So why does it say Lamar? So here he says, Lamar Kadesha Yidei Zeh Very interesting. So Lamar means by the Aseres, think about that the Aseres HaDibros, what is it called? Dibur.
Yeah.
But then there's the Asara Mamorot. You know what Asara Mamorot are? The 10 sayings that God used to create the world. Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or. Hashem said, let there be light. Vayomer Hashem Lasa Adam, let's make a human. But he uses the word Vayomer. But by the Aseret HaDibrot, it says Vayidaber. So look what he says. The reason Hashem puts the word Lamor in the first sentence, Vayidaber Elokim es kol hadvarim ha'ela Lamor, you know why? Through the Aseres HaDibrot, you have to connect it to the Asara Mamorot. What's the Asara Mamorot? The world. What's the Aseres HaDibrot? The Torah. We have to connect the Torah to the world. So Lamor means I am connecting the Aseres HaDibrot with the Asara Mamorot. What's the Asara Mamorot? The creation of the world. What's the Aseres HaDibrot? The Torah. Now Mamorot is more soft. Dibrot is more tough. Why? Because the Torah, it has the infinite Ein Sof in it. Mm-hmm. And by bringing the Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem through the Torah and connecting it to the world, so now the world has the Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem in the world. So without the Torah, the world is very soft, very fragile. So it might cease to exist.
Yeah, so that's why you said Kiyum v'chayut.
Exactly. Kiyum v'chayut la'asara ma'aretz. It makes the world exist.
No. Yeah.
So what's the food that the world could still exist is the 10 Commandments, the Torah.
So before, it can, any moment it can evaporate or something.
That's why on the 6th day of creation, it says Yom Hashishi. What does Rashi say? Why does it say Yom Hashishi? All the other ones it says Yom Chamishi, Yom Revi'i, not Ha. Because the world was waiting 2,000 years for the Jews to get the Torah and say, yes, we want it. Because if not, the world will go back to nothing. So the world was shaking like this. It says mitrofef, like someone is fainting. When they got the Torah on Yom HaShishi, what's Shishi? The 6th of Sivan. That's when we got the Torah. Yom HaShishi, the 6th of Sivan. Shavuot, the first time. When we got the Torah, the world got solid. got like firm. That's Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Dibrot of the 10 commandments you put into the 10 utterance of the world. Now the world is firm. It's interesting when you make a circumcision for a convert. You know, a convert. So there's a blessing you say after the circumcision. You know what I'm talking about? Just like you make a blessing after you circumcise a child, you say like a whole blessing and then you make a naming. So when you circumcise someone that's converting, you make a bracha and you say, what does it say? She'il mole. Il mole. Torah mitzvahs, aretz shamayim leineskaf. If not the Torah mitzvahs, the world wouldn't exist. So now that this convert is converting and he's doing all the Torah mitzvahs, now the world could exist. Okay, imagine that. The convert is converting, now the world could exist.
Because there was Neshama Torah.
Exactly. And he was looking for it. Yeah. So it's making now the world exist again. There's a funny thing. It says that before Hashem gave the Aseret HaDibrot, who came to the Midbar? Yitro. Yitro was Moshe's father-in-law. And it goes through a whole thing about Yitro, and he says, Ati Yadaiti, now I realize that God is above everything and I want to become Jewish. And after he converted, then we got the Torah. So the Zohar says, why did we have to wait for Yitro? When we've been working 200 years in Egypt as slaves. Is that not enough? Because in order to get the Torah, we need someone that wasn't Jewish to realize that this is the truth and convert, and now we got the Torah.
That's like an example.
And it was
exactly.
God, not just regular.
I mean, till today, who the people say they come from Yitro? The Druze.
Yeah.
They say Yitro is their Moshe, meaning they follow.
Oh, Druze?
Yeah, they don't worship idols. They believe in God. And they're not like Muslim. They're more like very respectful because they come from Yisrael, which Yisrael was from Midian. Which after he converted, he went and taught everyone about God and that there's no other God but God. So there's a question, did he move to Israel or not? Did he go back home to his hometown? But his children moved to Israel.
Where's his home? And
they got a section of Hebron. That's where they got to live. Yitro's grandchildren. You remember when there was the war with Yoel and Sisera?
Yeah.
You remember Sisera? And Yael took the nail and knocked it through his head, and when he was sleeping, she knocked the nail through his head, and she killed the general Sisera. He killed the general Yael.
She brought his head.
No, she took the peg of the tent and knocked it through his head and nailed him into the floor. So then when the Barak and Avinoam came and look, where's the general of the army? He says, here, come, I'll show you where he is. he's now nailed into the, you ever heard nailed into the ground? Nailed into the ground. Who did it? Yael, the granddaughter of Yisrael. Chever HaKeni. She was some king from Yisrael. Because she moved, in other words, Yisrael went back home. But then his kids went to Israel with Moshe, and they moved to Israel, and they got this section, and the people thought, Sisera thought that, oh, they're friends with me. Because they're like converted, they weren't, she was friends with him and nailed him into the ground. And then for the 40 years, it says, Vatishkoit ha'aretz 40 shana. We've been waiting for 40 years that Israel should be quiet. When is the last time that, 40 years in a row, it was Sheket? Shlomo Melech, yeah. But I'm saying, the idea of Fatishka to Aretz, 40 Shana after this war, was a pretty heavy war. But what's the point? That the convert accepted the Torah, and now the world could stand.
Yeah.
So the world only could stand if the Torah is there. So the Aseret HaDibros have to be embedded in the Aseret HaMamorot. So that's Vayidaber, Elokim, et kol hadvarim, Lemor. Put these words into the Asara, put them in the Lemor. Stick them into the world. Oh, V'zeu Shomer Azal. Al Pasik, Oy Yachzik, B'uz Yasa Shom, L'Shom Yasa, L'Oisik V'Teir L'Shma. Anyone that learns Torah for the sake of Torah, Mesim Shalom, V'Palmalia Shamayla, he makes peace in the heavenly court, Ubama, and down here in this world. What does it mean? Pirush. V'Palmalia Shamayla, Hainu B'chinesis Kashus, Chavus, Oidin Seba, Chachma, Tvuna, Shayin, Maila. By learning Torah, you bring the Ein Sof into Chachma and Bina of the spiritual world. And Pamalia Shamata, Hainu B'Nefesh Shalakis Baguf, Shekoivish, Dam L'Nafshei Abahamas Mnei Oiz V'Koyach Shenitoysev L'Anitzah Zalkeh De'elachim Shatayra. Guess what? Not only do you bring the Ein Sof to the spiritual world, but you bring the Ein Sof to this world, into your nefesh, into your body, into your soul, that now you're infused with a much deeper strength to overcome your animal soul and to make your animal soul connected to Hashem through learning Torah. And that's what we said already a few times. Hashem Oz La'amo Yitain. Hashem Yivarech Esamai Beit Shalom. What's Beit Shalom? The Oz is Torah. Torah is our strength. So when I learn Torah, I bring the Ein Sof into the spiritual world, and then I bring the Ein Sof into our physical world. Then now I have more strength to overcome the animal soul and make the animal soul a vessel to Hashem. So that's the idea. V'hinei, how come Torah has that power? How come when I learn Torah, I could take the infinite light and bring it to this world? Next page. So he says, I'll tell you why Torah has the ability to take the infinite light and bring it down to this world. You know why? Where's the root of the Torah? Where does the Torah come from? Where does the Torah originate from? From Ein Sof, from God Himself. So since it originates from God Himself and God brought it down, so every time we learn Torah, we could get that infinite light down to this world. That's where Torah comes from God Himself, God's wisdom. We say every time in Asher, Paseach es yadecha, u'mazbir l'chol chayei tzayin. So we normally read, yadecha means your hands. But you're supposed to read another way, yudecha. Al tika yadecha, ela yudecha. You know what yudecha means?
Thank you.
Like, v'aldezeh mazbiyah b'chinis ratzon ha'elyon, v'ayna k'moshe kosav v'chai b'hem ki'ilu asaoni, which means like this. Yodecha means hands. Yoducha is like I...
Thank you.
Ani modim lacha. How do you say? Thank you. Like I thank you. So when I acknowledge that everything is from Hashem, then umazveh l'chol chayratzin. In other words, it's not just if I open my hands and Hashem gives me. Yoducha. I realize that it's all from Hashem, and that's why I'm opening my hands, because I realize I have nothing. It's all coming from you. Then umazveh l'chol chayratzin. Then Hashem gives you everything. Because if you realize it's all Hashem, then there's nothing blocking. The blockage is when you think it's you. So Paseach es yudecha. Open up your thank you. Open up your acknowledgement, and Umazbiya Hashem will flow you with infinite flow. So that's how yodecha is. It's yoducha. Open up your way, your understanding, and understanding that it's all Hashem. By the way, we spoke about Shavuos. They brought shtei halechem. On Shavuos, they brought 2 loaves of bread made from chitim. On Pesach, it was made from barley, the second day of Pesach. On Shavuos, is chitim, 2 loaves. Why 2 loaves? Shadei b'chines shtei lechem sheikrivu lamata. And also, v'lichvesh es yitzara v'u'in Hashem v'shmatamata. And kamei came b'susa talata l'mat safe. So in other words, you know why we bring 2 breads? Because we're doing 2 things through learning Torah. Number 1, we're bringing the infinite light into ourselves. It gives us strength. It gives us food for the soul. It gives us the power to overcome our animal soul. Number 2, when we learn Torah, we're bringing the infinite light into the spiritual world. So we're doing 2 things. We're feeding our soul, and we're feeding the spiritual world. So it's 2 breads. And that's also Shal Mitziva Shnei Kvasim. Shehikriru v'Shavuos Shtei Alechem Al Shtei Shnei Kvasim. Shehim Torah Shebachsav v'Torah Shebal Peh. We're going to learn in the next paragraph a very interesting thing, that there's 2 parts of the Torah, the written Torah and the oral Torah. So when you bring shtei halechem, why 2 breads? Because the written Torah and the oral, what's the difference? I'll tell you the difference. The written Torah, there's nothing I could do about it. It's written, the words, the exact words, and I just have to read those words, and that's the Torah. The oral Torah is where I'm mixed into it. I understand it, I argue, I try to figure it out, I put some common sense, we debate it, we go. The written Torah, there's nothing to debate. These are the words, finished. The oral Torah is all about understanding and comprehension and the arguing and figuring it out and getting to understand it more and the debating. Do I hold like the Rambam? Do I hold like Rashi? Do I hold like Abaye? Do I hold like... That's the oral Torah. So this is what he says. That's why the Torah, it has two breads. One is for the Torah Shebachsav and one is for the Torah Shebapeh. The Torah Shebachsav is the written Torah and the Torah Shebapeh is the oral Torah. Now which one is God's bread? Lachmi is the written Torah. Which is your bread? The oral Torah. Because God's Torah is, He gave us the written Torah. The oral He gave to us to develop. I gave you the tools, go develop the oral Torah. So that's your part of the partnership.
But
Here.
both of them.
Oh yeah. You have to have that. You need both the whole time. Yeah. We're just going to finish this page. L'chu lachmi v'lachmi. Ma'u inachu arpish l'chu hanishatzarch leilach m'beisai. Va'af migufe v'atzmusi him anos inyane elm hazeh. V'losem kol sichle v'tereh shel yishor mesicha kal v'afilu ma'at in yadnei olam rak ma'at mesichle. He says a strange thing. We say it in Pirkei Avos. Kachi darka shel Torah. Pas b'melech tochal v'mayim b'mishsura tishteh v'ala oretz tishan. So he says a very strange thing here. If you really, really, really want to get the Torah, like you really want to comprehend and get to the depth of Torah, you're going to have to take your mind away from all the other things. You know, as if your mind is going to be occupied in worldly science or worldly, whatever, any worldly thing, it takes away that your mind can't focus on the Torah. There's no way. You know, as if you want to get to the juice of the Torah, the essence of the Torah, you're going to have to push away your thoughts from the worldly things and be able to focus on the Torah itself. That's called lachmi v'lachmi. So he says, don't let your sechel, your intellect, even a little, only use a little of your sechel for your worldly things. We see shali'itim. Al kain eina matzliach. Rak yosem kol sicha v'das ha-Torah, heim benigla v'heim l'chu lachmi. Wow. So he says that sometimes you see a person that's not such a scholar, not such a smart person, they are more successful in learning Torah than the smart people. Did you ever see that?
But the success is about the learning Torah or success in general?
That's another question. Why? Because since they don't have so much intellect, so they don't use their intellect for the worldly, so they use it for Torah. It's funny. I once heard we had a debate in school in yeshiva. You know, we were there for many years, and in the end we said, who do we think is going to be the most successful in their life? And you look at all these scholars, they learn and they have the great minds, and they're like shooting the whole Talmud inside out, you know, every page by heart, you know. And then you have the people that are more like, you know, simple, not bad people, but just they learned, you know, they weren't the highest level. And a lot of times you see that they were more successful. The simplest. Because their mind is not, you know, when you use your mind with too much intellectual, you go off track. Like most...
Successful, you mean like
Good question. How do you define
A successful, I don't mean financially successful, but a happy life, a Torah life, a good life, a life. You're smiling every morning.
We always say if you are stupid, you are happy. No? And sechel and dagot. That's what they said.
But, You understand what he's saying? More, when I say ish matzliach, when you say a person that's successful, according to Torah, means that every moment they use properly. You know, they're using their time in a good way. They're successful, they know what their priorities are, they know what their life is about, and they're just happy to live every moment. You ever saw such people?
Unfortunately, no.
That they get up in the morning, they know why they got up, they have a focus on what they want to do today, and they try to accomplish it, and they feel that every minute they maximize to the max. And when they finish a day, they feel like they finished a year.
It's a dream.
It's like, wow, how did I accomplish so much in one day?
It's a good dream.
Just think about it. But a person that uses his intellect and seichel into the worldly things, it'll be very hard for him to turn it to the focus to the godly things. So sometimes a person that's not so, they're going to be more into the learning than anyone else. And there he ends, and we'll end with this. That's why it's called lachmi. Lashon yachid. Why? Hu al yeshaloi l'shma l'izgadel lachon yachid l'shus yachid shaylam. It's very interesting. Many times a person learns Torah not because they want to connect to Hashem. Jewish people, they want to learn Torah for two reasons. One is they want to become, a scholar. Like the mother said, you better be a rabbi, whatever. And second is they love learning. They enjoy it. But it has nothing to do because I'm connecting to Ein Sof. Nothing to do to that. So he says, L'chu lachmi b'lachami. I want you to go out of yourself and eat the Torah because it's God's bread, not because it's your bread. So I want you to enjoy the Torah because it's God's Torah. You see the difference? It's a whole different. To say I learned Torah, how many of us could say, you're learning Torah just to connect to Hashem?
Oh, this is you need to be pure first.
It's not true. I'll tell you an interesting thing. Thank God everyone has a cell phone, the Mishigas phone, what is it called? The smartphone. You could learn Torah the whole time, meaning when you're waiting for this train, you're waiting for this. There's so much to... Today it's much easier. You have to realize how every moment you have to use to the maximum. If you could use every moment to the maximum, you're success. That's how I call success. You're happy and you're using every moment. Work is also important. I'm not saying not to work, but to be successful in work. That you accomplished. You went through a day and it was a full day. I'll end up with a little story. I was at counseling camp. Everyone goes to camp now, overnight camp, in a place called Detroit. Detroit is a state.
They make the cars.
Michigan. I don't know if they still make cars. I don't think they
No, they still.
Yeah?
But it's not like Ford.
Anyways, so there's a camp there in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. And I was a counselor. And by night, you have to put the kids to sleep. Now, go put boys to sleep at night. It's like, 10 boys in a bunk and they all, So I used to tell them a story and this. And then say the Shema together and, try to... So then one kid, I hear after we finish, he says like a whole paragraph to himself. So I asked him, could you tell me what you're saying every night before you go to sleep? He says, my mother told me that every night before I go to sleep, I should say these words. Morgen will ich aufstehen gar anders. tomorrow I'm going to wake up a whole different person. Today, we try to be, but tomorrow, it's going to be a whole different. I still remember this. He was on the top bed. He wasn't on the lower. The bunk, the two. He was on the top. And he said, Morgan v'lechosh gorash. So l'chaim, tomorrow, we should be a whole different person. L'chaim.